Von Miller saying the franchise tag is inherently unfair to NFL players because it restricts their ability to find out their true market value. The two sides are, of course, facing a deadline of Friday for franchise players to sign a long-term deal. Von Miller saying that this is, Waddle, a league-wide problem. Do you agree with him?
I don't agree with him. Listen, I'm a former player, and I take a passionate stance against some of the player issues at this particular moment. First and foremost, I will say this deal is going to get done, in my humble opinion. I mean, the Denver Broncos, who lost more than any team in the NFL in this past offseason, and as defending, they have to get Von Miller back in the fold. I do believe it's about money. I'm not calling Von Miller a liar, but this is professional sports. They offered him $61 million guaranteed. He said no. There is a monetary issue involved here. The franchise tag was a collectively bargained tool that the owners have used to try and maintain possession of their top players. I don't blame the NFL owners for using this particular route for trying to keep their best players in the building. With that said, it's not a device, or it's not something that affects many players. From 2012 to 2015, there were 38 guys who were franchised. So what we're really talking about is this affecting some of the elite players in the league. You collectively bargained for this. You collectively bargained to give Roger Goodell the ability to be judge, jury, and executioner. You've given Roger the ability to oversee the appeals of some of the personal conduct penalties he has passed out. You collectively bargained to ultimately at times play 2 games in the matter of 4 days.
Thursday night football.
If this was something that you didn't think was fair, you should be mad at the NFL Players Association and your peers and the rank and file players who are never, in my mind, going to use this as a really top-of-the-line voting issue, because it's not going to affect the vast majority of guys who play in the National Football League. Look, is it 100% fair for Von Miller? Maybe not. But Von Miller not playing for the franchise tag isn't going to change the system. The collective bargaining agreement is in place for quite some time now. And if you want to change it, then try to talk to your former players, get some momentum, and have this as one of the issues that you'd like to have removed from the next collective bargaining agreement. I'm a pro-player guy, having played, but some of the gripes that I hear from the guys are the direct result of them deciding to take the enormous pile of cash that the owners have placed in front of them. And look, the NFL career lasts less than 4 years. I understand that. And for the rank and file players, they want to get as much money as they can. But they have made some decisions based on maximizing their financial return that have ignored some of the other issues that I just mentioned. I think this deal will get done. I don't believe this is inherently unfair to the majority of the players in the National Football League, and I don't blame the owners for using this tool to try to keep their best players on their roster.
Here's why Von Miller is right. And Waddle's right to a point, because they have not negotiated well, the players' union. But just because it's been negotiated and just because the union didn't work for these players doesn't mean it's not a fair rule. Later, we're going to be talking about the All-Star game and how there's the dumb rule for home field advantage in the baseball All-Star game tonight. Dumb rule, but it's negotiated in already. Doesn't mean that it's not a dumb rule. What you are doing here is you are taking free agency. Free agency. You're supposed to be allowed to be Kevin Durant and choose from the other 31 teams around the league. And what you're doing with the franchise tag rule is you're penalizing the best players in the league.
Because those are the only ones that get affected.
Those are the only ones who get franchised. So Danny Trevathan, really good player, signed with the Bears in the offseason.
Good addition.
Had a great addition. I'm happy he's a Bear. Really good player. Not nearly good enough to be a franchise player. So he is free to go around, Denver, what are you offering me? Okay, I don't like that offer. I'm going to listen to Chicago. I'm going to listen to this team. And then I'm going to choose as a free agent to go wherever I want. Von Miller is maybe the best, if not the second best pass rusher in the entire NFL. He is penalized by the system in place for being the best. Why do we penalize the best players? Those should be the players who should be rewarded. The best players should be able to have, like in life, the best to choose from. And when you're the best at something in any job, you get your choice and the opportunity
to prioritize the things that are important.
You're right. Look, just because, though, they have done a poor job negotiating the collective, and you've hit them all out of the park. Everything you said is correct, but it's still an unfair rule. I mean, would it be fair for Kevin Durant to still be in Oklahoma City? The people who have ripped Kevin Durant, I think, are way off base. If he shouldn't choose Golden State, then it's not a true free agency. People think it's weak to go to Golden State. Well, it's free agency. He's free to go anywhere. So Von Miller should be free to go anywhere.
The players recognize that it is a business. Ultimately, it seems like the perception from players is if their name is mentioned in the franchise tag conversation, they feel like they're going to get screwed. The numbers do indicate that oftentimes they do for that year. Yes, it is guaranteed. My question to you is this then. Does all of the blame fall on the Players Association for not having the foresight to see that the league and the teams would take advantage of the loophole?
Absolutely. I mean, they understood or they weren't informed the way they should have been informed. Look, I don't blame the owners at all. I mean, this is a device that they bargained for, it was signed off on, and it's their ability to keep their top players informed. And I think that fans are probably happy that this device is in place because at all costs, the Denver Broncos fans don't want to lose Von Miller. And again, I think this deal is going to get done. There's no doubt in my mind that this deal is going to get done, but make it a higher priority. I don't believe, though, that this is going to be changed drastically. I don't think this is something the owners are going to come off of. And I don't believe it has as much impact for the majority of the players, the rank and file. Again, from 2012 to 2015, the franchise tag was used 38 times. What are there, 1,500, 1,700 players in the National Football
League? But they happen to be, and the best players, and the loudest players, the ones with the largest platforms, the ones that fans
Why should the best players not have the free market that everybody else has?
Well, they should have a louder voice inside their team meetings, their union meetings. The franchise tag initially was something that I believe the players liked, especially quarterbacks. And by the way, I think Kirk Cousins is probably not so down on getting $20 million.
You got one.
Okay, so I mean, I think the franchise tag may be working for him. There are other instances where the franchise tag may be working. Von Miller is the most dominant. I take that back. As a linebacker, the most dominant defensive player in the league. As a defensive end, as a pass rusher, a guy that moves all across the defensive line, I'd give that honor to J.J. Watt. He is at, $14 million? He will be the highest paid linebacker in the league if he signs his franchise tag. This was a device that I believe, or something that was implemented that the players initially liked because guaranteed money was never part of the equation. Sure. And this actually gave some guys some guaranteed money. Well, the salary cap escalated because the television contracts got bigger. Then there was a greater likelihood that teams are going to give out more guaranteed money. So now we find ourselves in that particular situation. We'll find out if this is a hot-button negotiation point when the two sides get back together. My guess is there will not be a significant difference with the use of the franchise tag because it doesn't affect the majority of the players.
And let's face it, the NFL doesn't like to be told what to do in any regard. So if you even try to make this a priority, the NFL is going to say this is the way it is. And that's the way they've done things. If you're scripting out, all right, we're starting ourselves our Gen Latta Sports League right now. What are the fair rules? The NFL rules for players is the most unfair of any of the four major sports because it's the most physical and they have non-guaranteed contracts year in and year out. The best players aren't allowed to experience free agency. So I get it. They have not collectively bargained well, but we know what the power of the shield is. They don't get told many things. They do what they want as far as the owners are concerned.
So as you zoom out and you look at this one particular instance, I think you can make a case that it's not fair for Von Miller. But overall, we're not talking about a one-player league. We're talking about a league that has 1,500 players. And I don't believe that this is something that is going to change significantly. I believe also it was a tool the teams were using. And I think the impetus for it was to make sure you could keep your franchise quarterback from leaving, because the quarterback position is by far the most important position in all of sports. Is it working against Von Miller when it comes to guaranteed money? Maybe so, but with $61 million guaranteed that was offered to him, that would make him, other than Fletcher Cox, different position, he would be the player with the highest guaranteed money total of anybody as a linebacker in the NFL.
Well, and you mentioned that you believe the deal will get done. Do you believe the deal will get done?
Oh yeah. It's going to get done right at the deadline, just like last year.
But there is a before, something we've seen before in Josh Norman, his situation, where obviously he was tagged with the franchise and said, no, I'm going to go test the free market.
This won't happen.
And obviously was able to get
It's over the
guarantee.
What I read, they could be as close as $9 million apart. So I think they're just posturing now, and you'll see Von Miller signing a long-term deal.
Well, within Von Miller's right to posture at this point. Many people believe he was the reason the Broncos ended up getting that Super Bowl Lombardi trophy. Up next, we've been talking about one of the best defensive players in the league. Let's move on to another, J.J. Watt. Is he overrated? One Hall of Famer definitely thinks so. We'll react to some strong comments next.